The rain hammered down on the slick roads of Cedar Falls, Ohio like a relentless drumbeat echoing through the night. Thunder cracked overhead, and lightning briefly illuminated the highway, casting jagged shadows on the wet asphalt. A patrol car swerved violently, its tires losing grip on the flooded surface. It spun once-twice before slamming into the concrete divider with a deafening crunch of metal and shattering glass. The siren wailed erratically, fading into a distorted whine as the vehicle came to a halt, smoke rising from the crumpled hood. On the ground, Officer Elena Ramirez lay motionless, her uniform soaked through her cap, rolling away into a puddle. Blood trickled from a gash on her forehead, mixing with the rain that pelted her face. She was alone, the world blurring around her in a haze of pain and cold. Noah Carter slammed on his brakes, his old pickup truck skidding to a stop just feet from the wreckage. He was 35, a single dad working double shifts at a local service warehouse to keep the lights on for his 6-year-old daughter, Lily. His wife had passed 2 years ago in a car accident, much like this one, leaving him to navigate grief and bills on his own. Tonight he'd stayed late to finish inventory, hoping it would impress his boss enough to secure his job amid rumors of layoffs. But now, staring at the mangled car, all thoughts of work vanished. He jumped out, rain soaking him instantly as he ran to the officer's side. "Hey, can you hear me?" Noah knelt down, his hands trembling as he checked her pulse. It was faint, erratic. Blood seeped from her wound and her breathing was shallow. Without hesitation, he shrugged off his jacket and wrapped it around her, shielding her from the downpour. He fumbled for his phone, dialing 911 with numb fingers. "There's been an accident on Highway 12 just outside Cedar Falls. An officer's down, hurry." As he waited, Noah positioned his truck to block the lane, its hazard lights flashing a warning to oncoming traffic. He knelt back down, pressing his hand gently to her shoulder. "Hold on, okay, help's coming. Just try to open your eyes. Please." Elena's eyelids fluttered open, her lips pale and trembling. Her voice was a whisper, barely audible over the storm. "Don't let them take the girl." Noah froze, his heart pounding. What girl?" But her eyes closed again and she slipped back into unconsciousness. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder. Paramedics arrived moments later, taking over with efficient urgency. Noah helped lift her onto the stretcher, explaining what he'd seen. As the ambulance doors closed, he glanced at his watch way past his shift start time. The meeting with his boss was ruined, but he pushed the thought aside. A life mattered more. The next morning, Noah stood in his manager's office, his clothes still carrying the faint scent of rain and bloodstains he couldn't fully scrub out. Mr. Grant, a stern man in his 50s with a clipboard always in hand, listened impassively as Noah explained. "I stopped for an accident. A police officer was hurt. I can get the report to prove it." Grant cut him off, his voice flat. "Everyone has excuses, Noah. You were late. Again. Rules are rules. We can't make exceptions." Noah's stomach dropped. "But I was saving someone's life." "Doesn't that count for something?" Grant leaned back in his chair, unmoved. "It counts for a good deed, maybe, but not for keeping your job. You're terminated effective immediately." The words hit like a punch. Noah walked out in a daze, the door slamming behind him. His mind reeled. How would he pay rent? Buy food for Lily, all because he'd stopped to help, doing the right thing, and getting punished for it. 3 days later, the small apartment in Cedar Falls felt even smaller. The kitchen light flickered weakly, the fridge humming empty. Noah sat at the scarred wooden table, counting the last of his change pennies and dimes scattered like broken promises. Enough for milk or the electric bill, but not both. Lily was asleep in the next room, her teddy bear clutched tight, unaware of how close they were to the edge. A knock echoed through the quiet, sharp insistent. Noah opened the door cautiously. There stood Officer Elena, fully recovered, her uniform crisp and her badge gleaming. But what stopped him cold was the little girl peeking from behind her, clinging to Elena's sleeve, a 6-year-old with wide eyes and a shy smile. "Mom, is this the man who saved you?" the girl whispered. Noah's breath caught. Elena met his gaze steadily, her voice carrying a weight like stone. "Noah, I heard you lost your job because of me." She paused, letting the words sink in. "Now, it's my turn to give back. Before we continue, please tell us, where in the world are you tuning in from? We love seeing how far our stories travel. What would Elena do to repay him? And why, in her dying moments, had she begged him not to let them take the girl when that girl now stood right there calling her Mom? The door to the cramped apartment swung open, letting in a draft of cold air that carried the faint metallic scent of rain-soaked streets. Noah stood frozen in the threshold, his eyes widening at the sight of Elena and the little girl clinging to her side. Sophie peeked out from behind her mother's legs, her small face curious and unafraid. She tilted her head, studying Noah with those wide eyes that mirrored Elena's intensity. "Are you the good man?" Sophie asked softly, her voice cutting through the silence like a gentle breeze. Noah swallowed hard, the question hanging in the air. It stirred something deep inside him, a reminder of Lily's innocent faith in him, the kind that made his chest ache. Elena placed a reassuring hand on her daughter's shoulder. "Sophie, say hello properly." The girl nodded, her voice shy but clear. "Hello, sir." Noah finally found his words, his throat tight. What are you doing here?" Elena met his gaze steadily, her expression a mix of gratitude and resolve. "I came to thank you, and to apologize. I heard about your job, how you lost it because you stopped to help me." Noah let out a bitter laugh, though it sounded more like a sigh. "I don't need apologies." He started to close the door, his hand gripping the knob a little too tightly, as if shutting out the reminder of his failure. But from inside the apartment, a small voice called out, "Daddy, who's there?" Lily emerged from the bedroom, her hair tousled from sleep, wearing an oversized nightshirt that once belonged to her mother. She clutched her worn teddy bear, its fur matted from years of hugs. Her eyes darted from Elena to Sophie, curiosity flickering across her face. The two girls locked eyes for a moment, a silent, childlike recognition of shared vulnerability, as if they sensed the parallels in their lives without words. Noah hesitated, then stepped aside reluctantly. "Come in, I guess. It's cold out there." Elena nodded and guided Sophie inside, closing the door behind them. The apartment was a single room divided by thin curtains, kitchen, living area, and bed all crammed together. A damp stain spread across one wall like an ugly bruise, and the faint hum of the old refrigerator filled the space. On the table sat a stack of bills, electric, water, rent, all stamped with urgent red ink. But what caught Elena's eye was the glass jar labeled "Milk for Lily" in childish marker, half filled with coins and a few crumpled bills. Noah noticed her glance and quickly moved in front of it, his cheeks flushing with embarrassment. "Don't look at that." Elena didn't press. She simply nodded, understanding the quiet shame that came with such necessities. Lily tugged at her father's sleeve. "Daddy, can we have eggs tonight?" Noah's heart twisted. He knelt down to her level, forcing a smile. "How about noodles instead, kiddo? We can make them special." Lily beamed, her trust unwavering. "Noodles are good too, Daddy." The simplicity of her acceptance hit like a wave. Noah straightened up, turning to the counter to hide his expression. He pulled out a small envelope from a drawer and dumped its contents onto the table, a handful of change that clinked softly. He began counting his fingers, deliberate pennies, nickels, a few dimes. Elena watched in silence as he paused midway, his shoulders slumping. Enough for milk. Or the electric. Not both. Sophie, still holding Elena's hand, pointed at the jar. "Why do you keep money in a jar so you don't forget?" Noah glanced at her, managing a weak smile. "Yeah, something like that. It's for my daughter." The girl tilted her head again. "Do you have a jar for yourself?" Noah paused, his eyes dropping to his calloused hands, rough from warehouse work, nails chipped and dirty. "No," he said quietly. "I save for her." Elena shifted uncomfortably, her own memories surfacing. She cleared her throat. "How long since you lost the job?" 3 days, Noah replied, showing her the termination email on his phone. The words stared back, "Termination effective immediately due to tardiness." He sat down heavily, rubbing his temples. "I've been applying everywhere. They ask why I was fired. I tell them I stopped to save someone. They look at me like I'm making it up." Elena reached into her bag and pulled out a folded document, the accident report stamped and official. "This proves it. Your name's here, the one who called 911, blocked the road, provided aid until help arrived." Noah took it, his fingers tracing the words. For the first time in days, a flicker of hope crossed his face. Elena leaned forward. "Tomorrow I'll go with you, not to beg, to make them face the truth." Noah met her eyes, skeptical but grateful. "You think it'll work?" Before Elena could answer, Lily approached her, tugging at her sleeve. "Miss, can you make Daddy not sad anymore?" Elena's voice softened. "I'll try, sweetheart, because he saved me when no one else would." The room fell quiet, broken only by the distant rumble of thunder. Noah clutched the report like a lifeline. But then from the hallway outside, a sharp voice echoed, "Noah rent's due tomorrow. No excuses or you're out." Noah's face paled. Elena's jaw tightened, her hand clenching into a fist. She turned to him, her tone resolute. "Tomorrow we face your boss. Are you ready to endure one more humiliation?" "To reclaim your life for her!" Noah glanced at Lily, who nodded subtly, her small hand in his. He drew a deep breath. "I'm ready." The morning light filtered dimly through the apartment's thin curtains, casting long shadows across the worn floor. Noah stood over his bed, smoothing his one clean shirt with the palm of his hand, no iron in sight, just careful pressure to erase the wrinkles. It was the best he could do. Lily watched from the doorway, her small fingers clutching a single coin she'd fished from her piggy bank. She stepped forward and pressed it into his palm. "For you, Daddy, in case you get hungry." Noah's throat tightened. He closed his fingers around the coin, feeling its insignificant weight like an anchor. "I won't need it, sweetie, but thank you." He hugged her, then turned to Elena, who waited by the door. "Let's get this over with." The drive to the warehouse was silent save for the hum of the engine and the occasional patter of leftover rain. At the office, a squat building on the edge of Cedar Falls, the parking lot was already half full. As they walked in, whispers followed. "Look, he's back. Probably begging for his job. Fired and still shows up, what a joke." Noah's jaw clenched, but he kept his head high. Elena walked beside him, her uniform hidden under a coat for now. Sophie held her hand, glancing around with wide eyes, while Lily stuck close to her father. They reached Grant's door, and Noah knocked firm but not aggressive. The door swung open. Grant's face hardened at the sight of Noah. "What do you want? I told you." "Just 30 seconds, Noah interrupted, his voice steady. "The day I was late, I stopped for an accident. I saved an officer's life. Here's the proof." He held out the report. Grant barely glanced at it. "Stories don't change facts. You were late. End of story." "But she could have died." Noah pressed his frustration building. Grant stepped into the hallway, raising his voice for the office to hear. "Listen up, everyone. This is what happens when you break the rules. Don't come crying with hero tales. Late is late." Snickers rippled through the room. One coworker muttered, "Yeah, right. Probably made it up." Noah felt heat rise in his cheeks, the humiliation burning. He thrust the papers forward again. "Just look at this. It's official." Grant crossed his arms, ignoring the documents. "Fabricated excuses won't cut it." Elena moved forward, then her voice cutting through the tension. "You call these fabricated—" She shrugged off her coat, revealing her uniform, and pinned her badge in place. The room fell silent as she adjusted her cap. "I'm the one he saved." Grant's eyes widened, his bluster deflating. The whispers turned to stunned murmurs. You're—" Elena handed him the report, her tone icy. "Read it. My name's there. The 911 call log. The traffic cam footage showing his truck blocking the road." She paused, her gaze sweeping the room. "Your rules, do they include ignoring someone dying on the highway?" Grant stammered, flipping through the pages. "I didn't know." "You didn't care to know," Elena shot back. The door to the office burst open then, and Lily darted in. Sophie trailing behind her. They'd slipped away in the lobby, too worried to stay put. Lily ran to Noah, grabbing his hand. "Daddy," Grant frowned down at her. This isn't a place for kids. What do you know about any of this?" Lily looked up at him, her eyes filling with tears, but her voice brave. "My daddy doesn't lie." Grant waved her off. "Kids don't understand." But Lily didn't back down. She clutched her teddy bear tighter. "That night Daddy came home late. His clothes were all wet and dirty. He hugged me and cried. He said, 'I'm sorry you have to eat noodles tonight.' But he didn't regret it because he saved someone. Her lower lip trembled. If Daddy's wrong, then I'll be scared to be good anymore. The office went deathly quiet. A few employees shifted uncomfortably, one wiping her eyes. The weight of her words hung in the air, simple and devastating. Elena turned to Grant, her voice low but firm. You fired a good man because it was easier to punish the vulnerable. Grant's face reddened, but he nodded slowly. All right. I apologize, Noah. The termination was hasty. You can come back tomorrow. Elena shook her head. Not good enough. Apologize publicly and send an email to the whole company Noah was wrongfully terminated. Grant hesitated, glancing around at the watching eyes. Look, you're a cop, but you don't run my business. Elena met his stare. No, but the truth does. And public opinion will. She addressed the room. Who here saw him get called a liar? Who believes he deserves better? Hands rose, one, then two, then more. The tide had turned. Grant's office felt smaller than before, the air thick with unspoken tension. He slid a printed email draft across the desk, his expression a forced mask of concession. Here, we'll send this company-wide acknowledging the wrongful termination, and I'll approve a small raise, effective upon your return. Noah stared at the paper, his fingers hovering over it. The words blurred slightly, apology, reinstatement, but they didn't erase the sting of those 3 days. He looked up, his voice even. I don't want your pity, and I don't want you teaching people that kindness doesn't matter. Grant averted his eyes, nodding curtly. Understood. Tomorrow, then. As they left the building, the afternoon sun did little to warm the chill in Noah's bones. Back at the apartment complex, Elena offered to drive them home. Sophie and Lily chattered in the back seat, their voices a brief respite from the weight of the day. But as Noah unlocked the door, a figure appeared at the top of the stairs. Soledad, her expensive coat draped elegantly over her arm, lips painted a sharp red. She descended slowly, her eyes flicking over Elena with thinly veiled disdain. Well, Noah, I see you found yourself a new ally. Uniform and all. Elena nodded politely, but Noah felt his patience fray. Soledad, not now. The woman ignored him, bending slightly to address Lily with a saccharine smile. Poor thing. Living like this. You'll get used to going without, won't you? Lily's grip on her teddy bear tightened, her eyes dropping to the ground. Noah stepped forward, his voice low but firm. Don't talk to my daughter like that. Soledad straightened, her laugh light but cutting. Just stating facts, dear. She glanced at Elena again. Be careful, officer. Not everyone here is as spotless as they seem. With that, she sauntered away, leaving a trail of perfume that lingered like poison. That evening, Elena returned out of uniform, this time carrying a simple paper bag. Noah opened the door, surprised. You again? I didn't come as a cop, she said, stepping inside. I came because I know what it's like to stare at an empty fridge after a long day. She set the bag on the counter, eggs, bread, a carton of milk, some fruit. Not charity, just dinner. Noah hesitated, pride warring with gratitude. I can manage. Elena unpacked quietly. A strong father isn't one who does it all alone. It's one who knows when to accept help. She cracked an egg into a pan, but it sizzled too hot, the edges burning a black. Sophie giggled. Mom, you're making it smoky. Lily joined in her laughter, bubbling up. The girl's joy filled the room, easing the knots in Noah's chest as Elena salvaged the meal with a sheepish grin. But the peace was short-lived. Later that night, Noah's phone buzzed with notifications from the neighborhood group chat. Cop cozying up to the unemployed dad downstairs. Watch out, she's probably covering for him. His face drained of color as he scrolled. Elena checked her own messages, colleagues at the station. Heard you're into special cases now. She set her phone down, her jaw set. Noah apologized profusely. I didn't mean to drag you into this. You didn't, Elena replied. Your decency just threatens people like her. The next day back at work, Grant handed Noah a stack of manifests. Warehouse needs help. Start there. The space was stifling, dusty shelves, heavy crates, no air conditioning. Co-workers whispered, boss is punishing him, wants him to quit. Noah hauled boxes until his hands blistered his back, screaming in protest. By evening, he returned home bandaged and exhausted. Lily noticed immediately. "Daddy, does it hurt?" He forced a smile. "Nah, it's nothing." She frowned, touching the wraps gently. "You're lying. I wish you didn't have to hurt just for being good." Her words pierced him. He turned away, blinking hard. Elena arrived later with a borrowed book for Lily. The girls sat on the floor drawing. Lily sketched a man holding an umbrella over a woman, adding a star above her head. "Why the star?" Elena asked. "Because you're a police officer," Lily said. "Like a star. When I'm scared, I look up and feel better." Sophie's question came next, directed at Noah. "Are you scared getting fired, people being mean?" Noah paused. Lily answered for him. "Daddy gets scared, but he still helps. He says if we ignore others, we'll get ignored too." Elena's eyes glistened. In that moment, resolve hardened in her. She pulled out her phone and posted to the community page. 3 days ago, Noah Carter saved my life in an accident. He lost his job for it. If you've seen him treated unfairly, speak up. Proof attached. Responses flooded in. "I saw him block the road that night. He helped me when my car broke down, no charge." Support built like a wave, but then an anonymous comment, "Cops just being bought off." Elena showed Noah. "That's her voice, Soledad." His face paled. "What now?" "Community meeting tomorrow," Elena said. "If she shows, it'll all come out." Noah glanced at Lily, asleep now. "I just want peace for her." "Peace sometimes means weathering one more storm," Elena replied. The community hall in Cedar Falls was packed that evening, the air humming with murmurs and the faint scent of coffee from a side table. Folding chairs scraped against the linoleum floor as neighbors squeezed in, some out of curiosity, others drawn by the online buzz. Noah lingered in the back, his hand on Lily's shoulder, shielding her from the crowd's stares. Elena stood nearby, calm but alert, Sophie fidgeting beside her. The room felt like a powder keg ready to ignite. Soledad arrived fashionably late, her heels clicking as she made her way to the front. She smoothed her coat and addressed the group with a practiced smile. "I just want to say, we can't let emotions override principles. Officers shouldn't get too close to people with questionable backgrounds." Noah tensed, but Elena remained composed. "Principles, fine. Let's discuss facts." She stepped forward, holding up the accident report and photos. "Noah saved my life. Here's the proof logs, footage, everything." She scanned the room. "Who here has been helped by him without asking for anything in return? Raise your hands." Hands went up slowly at first. A mechanic in the corner, then an elderly woman near the window. The mechanic stood. "Last month, I fell in the parking lot. Noah carried me inside, called the doc. Didn't take a dime." The woman added, "My car stalled in the rain. He pushed it 2 blocks, lent me his jacket." Soledad's smile faltered. "That's nice, but..." Elena interrupted gently. "Let's hear from someone who can't fake it." She nodded to Lily, who had slipped forward, clutching her teddy bear. Lily looked terrified, her eyes darting to the crowd, then to her father. Noah shook his head subtly, but she took a deep breath and spoke, her voice small but steady. "My name's Lily. My daddy's Noah." The room hushed. "That night, Daddy came home late." She continued, hugging her bear tighter. "His clothes were wet and dirty. He hugged me and cried. He said, 'I'm sorry you have to eat noodles tonight.' But he didn't regret it because he saved someone." Tears welled in her eyes as she turned to Soledad. "If being good gets punished, I'll be scared to be good anymore." A collective breath escaped the room. Whispers turned to sniffles. A man in the back wiped his face. The raw honesty of a child's words hung heavy, exposing the cruelty in silence. Elena seized the moment. "You accused him of manipulation, Soledad. But let's talk about anonymous posts." She held up her phone, showing screenshots. "This account spreads rumors. Fake name, but the phrasing identical to what you said to us yesterday." Soledad paled. That's not..." "You can hide the name," Elena said evenly, "but not your voice." The crowd murmured louder. A neighbor stood. "Soledad." "Why? What's your grudge?" Soledad's composure cracked, her voice rising. "I'm protecting us. A cop shouldn't mingle with his type, the unemployed, always needing handouts." The room turned. Her words revealed the ugly underbelly disdain for the struggling. Hands that had risen in support now pointed in accusation. The next morning, pressure from the community reached the warehouse. Grant called Noah in, sliding an email across the desk full apology reinstatement to his old position and a raise. "We got it wrong," Grant admitted, his eyes downcast. Noah met his gaze. "You did, but saying it matters." That evening, Noah stopped at the corner store with his first reinstated paycheck stub in hand. He bought milk eggs, even a small treat for Lily. Back home, he poured a glass, watching her take a sip. Her eyes widened, then filled with tears. "What's wrong, sweetie?" he asked, alarmed. "I thought we'd always have to choose between milk and lights," she whispered, her voice breaking. Noah pulled her into a hug, his own eyes stinging. "I'm sorry you had to think like a grown-up. That's my job." Lily clung to him. "Don't be sorry, Daddy. Just don't leave me." "Never," he promised, kissing her forehead. Elena watched from the doorway, Sophie asleep against her side. "This place feels warm," she murmured, "because no one gets left behind." As Elena prepared to leave, Noah walked her out. "How do I thank you?" "You already did," she said. "You saved me when no one else stopped." "Will the talk hurt you?" he asked. She shrugged. "I don't live for rumors." Turning to Lily, who had followed, Elena knelt. Still scared of being good, Lily shook her head. "No. Today I saw good people get seen." Elena smiled. "Then keep at it. When you're tired, lean on each other a bit." Noah nodded. As the door closed softly, he watched Lily drift to sleep, her face peaceful. He whispered to her, "I can't give you everything, but I'll give you a heart brave enough to be kind, even when it hurts." The apartment felt less like a cage now, more like the start of something steady built on quiet alliances and shared burdens. Have you ever done something good and been misunderstood, punished, or laughed at? If so, would you keep being good anyway? Why?